Look at Warren Buffett. I mean, he's been dumping shares and liquidating, and a bunch of other big investors have been dumping real estate, and BlackRock's trying to get out of real estate. They own like half of America's real estate, and they're selling properties at a loss. I think they see the end is coming, and nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to spark the awareness because those big players, I think they're just covering it all up. I think the market is on the verge of a huge collapse.
This is Kaiser Johnson with Liberty and Finance, and these are the Miles Franklin weekly specials for December 30th, 2024 through January 6th, 2025 while supplies last. This week we feature 2024 1-ounce silver eagles at just $4.85 over spot, one of the lowest premiums we've seen in years. We have a limited supply, so these are first come, first serve. Next, 2024 1/10-ounce gold eagles are just $44.99 over melt per coin. We also have an incredible deal on XF $20 gold Liberty coins at just $75 over melt, one of the lowest premiums on pre-33 gold we've seen in a long time. And finally, 1/10-ounce gold Britannia are just $29.99 over melt per coin. To order our specials or any of the many other options we have available, call us at 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 1-888-815-4237. We're available after hours and on weekends, and we look forward to speaking with you.
Hey everyone, this is Elijah K. Johnson with Liberty and Finance. And back with us today is our good friend Chris Vermeulen from thetechnicaltraders.com. Chris, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey Elijah, thanks for having me.
Well, it's great to have you today. We got the certification of the election, so Trump is definitely going to be the next president. Now, it's interesting how it seems the timing of all of this, it seems like a lot of the markets are possibly topping out at this moment. Your perspective on, I guess, the macro view and where you see, a Trump presidency impacting the markets.
Yeah, I mean, I've been bearish for quite a while. I'm still bearish on the markets. I think we're waiting. I think the market is kind of waiting to see what Trump is going to do. There was news out talking about Trump maybe not doing as much of the tariffs or as big as tariffs, or selecting a smaller group of different resources and products to slap taxes on. So that's kind of creating a little bit of a move in the market and creating a little bit of a pop just this week. But overall, I'm still bearish on the market, and I think January is going to be the major barometer. Typically, how January closes, positive or negative, is how the rest of the year is going to go. So if we have a strong close, we might have a very interesting first presidential kind of cycle rally. But if the January closes weak, we tend to see the stock market struggle and close lower on the year, which is what I'm favoring. I think there's a lot of uncertainty. I think there's a lot of fears with tariffs and just a new president stepping in the situation we're in, that I think things are going to sell off. So I think people need to be aware that this market is very sector driven. The semiconductors have actually been kind of really taking a back seat. When you look at the Magnificent Seven, they haven't really been rallying, and the semiconductor sector on its own has been really flatlining. So I feel like there's definitely been a stall out in that momentum of the AI and the semiconductor space driving this market higher. And it's going to be very interesting. I think we got NVIDIA coming out with a speech from the CEO. So that's probably going to, probably move the markets as well.
Now, one of the recent videos you put out on your YouTube channel was about how the stock market, gold, and Bitcoin are likely topping. That seems to be your favorite view right now. Did you want to share with us some of the charts? I guess starting with the stock market. I know we've had other guests on the show kind of saying similar things, that a lot of signs are showing that we're really topping out at this stage. Your perspective, where we could head from here?
Sure. Yeah. Well, if we take a look at the charts here, we've got the chart of the SP 500. So I believe we're coming into a fairly major market topping scenario. In fact, when we look at the big picture and look under the hood of the markets, what we're seeing right now in the overall stock market over the last few months have been weakening. Kind of different commodities and assets have been performing better than the stock market. People are nervous. We've seen gold hit 100% measured move based on a long-term chart you and I have talked about before when we look at the monthly chart. And gold since then has pulled back with some big selling. I think GLD, the gold ETF, had some of the biggest monthly outflows, huge outflows, I think, in December over the past 2 months. So definitely, I think there's a lot of things coming together. When we look at the big macro picture, I think the economy is slowly coming to a grind. It's slowing, it's easing, hasn't fully stalled out yet, but I think that's coming. And what we're seeing in the stock market right now in terms of the last several months, from a chart standpoint and also kind of economic data, is kind of things are slowing down, similar to what we saw just before the 2022 bear market phase. So that coupled with gold hitting its 100% measured move now, energy stocks have been dramatically outperforming, especially compared to the price of oil, which has been going down. Energy stocks have been going up, but now we've seen energy really come to a grinding halt. Stocks have fallen hard. Dividend stocks are selling off. When dividend stocks are really selling off, that's like mass psychology. That is most retirees and investors who hold most of those big stocks, those companies, they're starting to unload those portfolios. And so there's a lot of things coming together that are just saying, hey, this market is coming to a grinding halt. And I think we just need to let January play out. To me, it's like, let's see what January does. Trump's going to be in now, and that's going to create a big bunch of volatility, probably a big pop and a drop and all that stuff. But with gold hitting its 100% measured move, the stock market also hitting. So let's take a look at this quick, Elijah, because this is a really good visual of where the stock market lies. And the SP 500 has done the same as gold. So if we were to just take a look at the SP 500 monthly chart, we have the COVID low, and then we have the high from the top of the 2022 bear market, and then we go to this low. If we carry that forward, now this is a Fibonacci extension, and this is like the most powerful tool. I'm actually going to be doing a video on this on my YouTube channel. Based on the move up and the strength of the pullback, it tells us where the next two upside targets are. If we come up to this 618, which you and I have talked about before, Elijah, usually we see a pause. And if we have a pause there, we almost always go up and hit the 100% measured move. The stock market has now done that. If we flip over to the chart of gold, gold has done the exact same thing. If we go back to the beginning of the last major super cycle and draw a Fibonacci on the monthly chart, we have the same thing. We have the high in 2011, the low in 2015. We carry that forward. Gold has hit the 618. It had a multi-year pause, very similar to what it had over here. It was a multi-year pause. And then it's taken off and outperformed the markets and hit that 100% measured move, just like it did just before the 2008 financial crisis. Gold is the global barometer telling us the world is nervous. They're getting out of stocks, real estate, other currencies and things like that, and they're moving into a physical asset kind of outside of the financial system. So those are kind of the reasons why I think we're starting to see things really top out and why most of the upside is done. The market could go a little bit higher, but I don't see it as like a new investment signal and something with a lot of power behind it. It'll just be a small rally, I think, to get people maybe excited about higher pricing, and the institutions will sell into this. And we've seen lots of institutional selling into the buying, and they're unloading their portfolios to the general public who are very bullish right now, which we've seen all the ARK ETFs and all the small caps and micro cap stocks starting to come to life. So people are piling into the most volatile stuff right at a market high. That's another sign we need to be aware of.
It's interesting because you're saying that gold and the stock market will probably fall at the same time. Why do you think that is? And it'll be kind of like maybe the 2008 crash or the COVID crash where we saw them fall at the same time. I am hearing also some people thinking that it will be, gold and silver are money and people might rush towards them in times of crisis. So this could be different. Why do you think that they will fall alongside the stock market this time?
I think it comes down to just overall money flow. When things start to sell and fall, people have margin calls. When people get nervous, they start to sell stuff if they're going down. And really, it's just kind of the market starts to fall and people start to sell. And the more it falls, the more people get nervous, the more people sell positions. It could buck the trend, but the market always feels like every time the stock market puts in a major bear market, that, precious metals should take off. The ultimate story for precious metals is always there. The problem is when there is mass selling globally and people have to liquidate and they're struggling financially and they need to sell investments for living or for keeping their business going, investments go down. Almost everything kind of gets pulled down. So I don't really think it'll buck the trend. And I think Bitcoin will probably be the same. I think people will eventually Gold, I believe, is a currency, a type of currency. Bitcoin is a type of currency. I think they could move up for maybe a month or two and maybe hold up in value while the stock market struggles. But I think once we get into the bear market and the stock market really sells off, I think we'll see gold and silver, as you and I have talked about before, pull back for several months, probably Bitcoin as well. And then they'll reset and then they'll have a new opportunity. They will have the ultimate opportunity, kind of just like after the last bear market. Once the forced liquidation and fear dissipates, then they're going to take off and be the leaders as a safe haven type of play.
Now, if we do look back at 2008, it looks like it really went back to that those highs, kind of the price was bumping up against previously. So if that was to happen again, it looks like we might be around the 2000 level for gold again.
Yeah, it's possible. It could be, a 20% pullback in gold and bring us back down to this level fairly easily, I think. I know people don't want to hear that, but it would probably be a fairly quick, swift drop and then have a knee-jerk reaction bounce and the start of a new rally. It's kind of what happened back over here. It's hard to see, but there was one super strong month that went straight down and crashed. And then the next month was a knee-jerk reaction and then it took off. So it'll most likely be something like that is my expectations. But yeah, there's quite a bit of potential here. Gold may hold its ground fairly well. It might actually just trade sideways and it could hold up very well and create a bull flag pattern, which is you have a rally and then you have this bull flag and then the second half of the move takes off, to 3,500 or so from here. So all I'm saying is gold. I think the main move in gold and stocks are done. The monthly charts have said, hey, we've hit our measured move. It's time for at least a pause, if not a major pullback. And so people just need to be aware that, hey, weakness is not a bad thing. It's just, you have to understand that it's probably going to happen. And it's an opportunity to the downside. It's an opportunity to rebuy later at a better price. So it should be seen as a positive thing if you can understand how to view it and trade it.
Now, as for silver, typically if gold falls, that is a very bad thing for silver. It typically falls even further. What are you seeing on the silver chart right now, and what kind of price targets would you be looking for on the downside?
Yeah, I would probably expect silver to probably fall somewhere back down into this consolidation. There could be a couple support trend lines. So it could fall back down to 23, 22, somewhere in that range, 24. That's going to be a pretty critical level. I think somewhere in that 22 to 24 range. So it would pull back. I'd like to think it's not going to break down through this, but the market, when there's panic selling, silver is very volatile. We kind of had the same over here. We had lows over here in the 2008 bear market. It crashed and pierced right through it and then, spooked the market and then it took off. So it could very easily pull back much deeper. Silver pulled back over 60% last time. It could pierce down and drop down to the 2018 mark and then, have some crazy reversal to the upside. It's going to want to probably shake out this low or this low over here, trigger those stops and make everybody get out. And then, of course, it'll go the opposite direction once most people spook.
As for Bitcoin, we've been hitting all-time highs recently, and it broke above the $100,000 market mark. Now we've pulled back. What is your outlook for Bitcoin going forward?
Yeah, so Bitcoin was a trade we actually did about a month and a half ago, and it was simply because we had a really nice setup. We have this giant cup and handle pattern, also a giant bull flag pattern. And if you were to do the same, this is the monthly chart. If we were to do the same that we did with gold and the SP 500, you take the low, you take this high, and then you come over here and you take this low. It draws those targets where I expected Bitcoin. We ended up getting long Bitcoin right over here. We hit our first target at 618, which it actually paused there for about a week. This is a monthly chart, so you can't see it. And then we ran all the way up. We hit our second target at 107,000. And so it has now hit that 100% measured move. So now I believe, based on this 100% measured move, I think it's going to continue to chop around, trade sideways, or pull back deeper and kind of reset. So that's why I was saying in my video, I'm like, looks like the stock market, gold, and Bitcoin, they have all hit 100% measured move on the monthly charts. And it feels like a feeding frenzy. In Bitcoin, it was headline news, everybody talking 100K, everybody's buying it. Same with gold. Everybody was bullish when it topped out, right when it hit our targets. And everybody's bullish on the stock market again here. Right? We have people calling for 7,000, 8,000 SP 500, which is way up there. But technically, it's hit its move and it needs a pause, I think, before it goes any higher, if it is to go higher.
It's very interesting how you're looking at three very different markets, and they're all hitting those measured moves. And also, it reminds me of how you're the third interview, I think, in a row here where I've talked to someone and they have shown different pieces of evidence of, it seems like things are topping out. It seems like things are topping out. And they're using different pieces of evidence, and they're using, really a third piece of evidence here. It seems like, and also the insiders are selling right now. It seems like it's just red alert right now that something big could be happening in the coming weeks.
I think so. I mean, look at Warren Buffett. I mean, he's been dumping shares and liquidating, and a bunch of other big investors have been dumping real estate, and BlackRock's trying to get out of real estate. They own like half of America's real estate, and they're selling properties at a loss. I think they see the end is coming, and nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to spark the awareness because those big players, I think they're just covering it all up. I think the market is on the verge of a huge collapse. It'll be really good for gold and silver once it has that pullback and reset. But yeah, I think you're right. There's all kinds of ways to look at this market. I'm just showing you just the simple technical analysis, but there's a lot of layers, fundamental, economic, all kinds of stuff breaking down as well that support all this.
What would be maybe your top 2 or 3 that you've been looking at for the economic data?
One of them happens to be real estate market. I don't have a chart of it here, but the real estate market I follow very closely. And I think looking at residential real estate, the prices aren't really falling. They pulled back off the highs down to about 15 to 20% in most places in the United States and Canada, and they've been flatlining. They haven't been selling, but the stockpile has been building up. There are so many homes for sale now, but none of them are really selling because nobody wants to drop the price of real estate to what the actual market value is. People think, well, no, I want to sell it at a high price, but the real market value is below what everybody wants to sell. That's why they're not selling. So once retail homes, residential homes start to sell, then people are going to realize, oh my gosh, we've lost 100K, 300K, worth of house value. And then they start to get nervous. And then if the stock market starts to move down, they're like, oh my gosh, we're losing value in our house. We're losing our portfolios going down. That's, we need a piece of economic data. I look at real estate as economic data that it will create that tipping point where fear picks up and the masses are like starting to get nervous. They're not buying into the Magnificent Seven anymore. They're more so like, maybe we should be selling and let's move out, right? So, and this is a window. When this happens, we could see gold, silver move slightly higher for a month or two during this. The stock market, real estate could break down and people will move to gold and silver. And I think they'll move higher. Maybe not huge, but they will be, I think they'll hold their value at minimum, if not move back up to their highs that they had a few months ago.
It seems like it's very exciting times ahead. Many things changing, having a new president here. And definitely in the economy, a lot of uncertainty. So if our viewers are interested in continuing to track this with you, where can they go?
Sure, they can go to my YouTube channel, which is The Technical Traders, or go to my website, thetechnicaltraders.com. And I share market analysis and have a free newsletter they can join and stay up to speed with interviews like with you and charts and videos that I post as well.
And for those investors, I mean, we've talked about this many times, but it goes without saying that, we're definitely today looking at things on kind of a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis, where a lot of people are also wanting to think maybe many years down the road and everything like that. And you've stressed multiple times the importance of, stacking physical metal as savings. Your perspective on that in this time?
Yeah, I think having physical metal is super important. I think I like it more than crypto. It's my favorite because you can just pick it up and you've got it. Whereas crypto, you could lose it. I just met somebody in Florida. They had 3 Bitcoins and somebody got in, hacked and took their coins. And he's like totally devastated, right? He ended up, it's crazy. So it scares me. I think physical metals is the way to go because if currencies blow up, then you have some type of currency that you can barter with, that you can do. We had the internet go out in Canada about 2 years ago, and a guy I met when I went in town to find a different internet connection, because a third of Canada was out. You couldn't use your credit cards in most places. He used silver rounds to fill his car up. And I have I have gold backs. I've got, different denominations of gold. You can break these off into little 0.5 or 1 gram bars. I think it's important to have a bunch of those little things just on hand. If something goes out, you can literally pull a round out of your glove box of silver, and you could barter for milk or gas or whatever you need, right? So I don't think the world's going to come to that, but I mean, I don't put it past the United States, like the financial systems, because banks have gone bankrupt, things blow up, internet goes down. You can't use your credit card. Doesn't matter how rich you are. You need a physical currency. Crypto's garbage when we have some EMP that knocks out all electronics. You're toast, right? So to me, there's no way to get around it. I think physical is the ultimate currency. Obviously, you need to be able to access it, have it some on hand in case it happens, right?
Definitely. Well, Chris, we really appreciate your time today, as always. Thank you so much, and God bless.
Thanks, Elijah. Take care.
This is Kaiser Johnson with Liberty and Finance, and these are the Miles Franklin weekly specials for December 30th, 2024 through January 6th, 2025, while supplies last. This week we feature 2024 1-ounce silver eagles at just $4.85 over spot, one of the lowest premiums we've seen in years. We have a limited supply, so these are first come, first serve. Next, 2024 1/10 ounce gold eagles are just $44.99 over melt per coin. We also have an incredible deal on XF $20 gold Liberty coins at just $75 over melt, one of the lowest premiums on pre-33 gold we've seen in a long time. And finally, 1/10 ounce gold Britannia are just $29.99 over melt per coin. To order our specials or any of the many other options we have available, call us at 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 1-888-815-4237. We're available after hours and on weekends, and we look forward to speaking with you.